Today we are going to be making the very best butter cake. This cake is super buttery and soft, and it took me about 15 tries before I found the perfect recipe, so I hope you all enjoy it. Let's do this. So to start off, you want to preheat your oven to 150 degrees Celsius, and you want to prep your cake tin. I'm using an 8-inch square cake tin today, but any 8-inch cake tin will do. So I'm starting off by just rubbing a little butter around the edges of the pan and then placing a piece of baking paper inside. There are neater ways of lining a square cake tin with baking paper, but I'm just doing the quick version today. And you know, by putting the butter on the outsides first, it helps everything kind of stick to the side so it's neat enough. Now for aesthetic purposes, I want as flat as a cake as possible. So to help me achieve that, I'm just placing some soaked cake strips around the edges of the cake pan. Now I'm just going to set that aside while we work on our cake batter. So you want to start off by creaming together your butter, sugar and oil. Now it's really important that all your ingredients are at room temperature, otherwise your cake's just not going to come out right. Now usually you would use the paddle attachment when mixing cake batter, but for this recipe you want to use the whisk attachment because we want to incorporate a lot of air into our batter because we have a lot of butter in this recipe. So you want to let this come together on a medium speed for about 5 minutes or so until your mixture is light and creamy. Now I noticed when I started mixing this, my butter was too cold, so I just scraped it off my whisk attachment and then popped my mixture into the microwave for about 15 seconds and then continued mixing it. It's also a good idea to scrape your bowl down a couple of times as you're mixing this to make sure everything is mixing together well. Now once that's done, we're going to add in our 5 eggs one at a time. So I'm going to start off by cracking all of them into a bowl. Now you want to let each egg mix in well until you can't see any of the yellow yolks, and then add in your next egg. And you want to scrape your bowl down every now and then to make sure everything's mixing well. Now once that's nicely mixed in, we're going to sift our dry ingredients together. So I've got flour and baking powder, and I'm going to sift that together into this bowl and then give that a good mix. By sifting your dry ingredients, you're going to incorporate more air into your batter, which is what we want. Now before I start adding this to my mixer, I'm just going to get my buttermilk and vanilla ready. So these are the last 2 ingredients, and I'm just going to combine them together. And just give that a little mix. Now all that's left to do is turn on your mixer on the lowest speed and add in half of your dry ingredients. Now once that's mostly mixed in, add in your buttermilk and vanilla, and once that's just mixed in, add in your remaining dry ingredients. Now once it's almost mixed in, scrape down the sides of your bowl and mix again on the lowest speed just for a few seconds, and then you're done. You really want to make sure that you're not over mixing your dry ingredients. Now the last thing to do is to get our batter into our prepared cake tin. I'm just using my spatula to help gently smooth everything out. Now once that's evenly spread out, give your cake tin a little bang to get rid of any large air bubbles, and now this cake is going to go straight into the oven for 1 hour or until a toothpick comes out clean. So my cake is out of the oven now. It smells incredible and I'm really happy with how it's baked up. So it's been cooling in the pan for about 15 minutes now, and I'm going to now turn it out of the cake pan, remove the parchment paper and let it cool for another half an hour or so before I cut it. I like to let my cake cool upside down on this rack that I've got because it creates these lines on the top which I use to cut out the perfect sized slices. So it's been about half an hour now. I'm turning my cake over and I'm going to go ahead and cut the cake into slices. I love having butter cake when it's slightly warm. It just has that perfect melt in your mouth texture. So if you're having it the next day, then I would highly recommend just popping it into the microwave for about 10 to 15 seconds for that perfect butter cake. Okay, now just take a look at this cake. It's super soft and fluffy and moist and has this beautiful crumb to it. It's super light and fluffy, and it's got this beautiful melt in your mouth texture, and it's super buttery, which is what you want for a, delicious butter cake. And it's like the perfect treat to go with a nice cup of tea in the afternoon, and it's great to use for layer cakes too. So that is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up below and subscribe if you did. Apart from that, I'll see you in the next one.